Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Monday, June 24th. Call to order at 6:36 p.m. First item of business, review the police department policy draft for traffic control personnel. Third read. Come on up, Chief.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
So I apologize for missing the last meeting. I did speak with Town Administrator Smith, and we went over a few things. And I saw some of the comments that you guys had made here on your last meeting. And the TCP will be provided a police-issued cruiser. I think that we're just going to strike that line altogether. I think I had put, I don't think, I know I had put it in there just in the rare, unusual circumstance that it was needed. I was kind of looking at it as another town employee. They would have been covered under the insurance anyways. But the reality of it is that ever happening is probably slim to none, and they could always just use their own vehicles. It's not like police officers haven't used their own vehicles. So I decided to just strike that unless you guys thought otherwise.
I think during the discussion, maybe a little bit, or after. Also, I talked with Brian a little bit about other vehicles that we may be decommissioning or surplusing, or have considered that, because as a fleet vehicle they weren't of reliable condition, but in a vehicle that we just outfit some yellow lighting and from a warning or caution type application like this, maybe they'd work. I threw that out there. I don't know that we went anywhere with it, as a possibility. But on the other hand, I would think if there's a necessity of having an emergency vehicle on the detail, then there'd have to be a police officer.
Yeah.
Who was, an officer who was going to be at least with others, TCPs. So I'm okay with striking it too.
Yeah.
So, and
I'm fine with striking it. I think if in the future the fleet, makeup changes and the town has other vehicles that they want to change, we could always revisit it. Sure. It doesn't have to be there forever.
Yep.
Under training, there had been a suggestion, I believe Chairman Smith had made it about, should have more in that the TCP shall be familiar and abide by the Erving Police Department's policies and procedures. I wasn't necessarily looking at all the policies and procedures. I don't think they need to be bombarded with all the traffic, all the policies and procedures. I was more or less trying to, that they would be familiar with this one. There may be, if they were operating one of our vehicles, which we're taking that out, then they would have needed to have been familiar with the operation of our vehicles, seat belts, all that type of stuff. So really, I think the only policy that they would have to be aware of would be this policy. So I just added at the end there that procedures regarding Erving employment traffic control personnel, and sign off acknowledging that they have read and received a copy and understand it. That can be just a simple sign off sheet that I can keep on file. So I added that language. I don't know if that's what, if you were looking at it, Chairman Smith, and saying, well, do they need to know all the policies?
that's
Obviously,
exactly what I said.
Yeah.
I said, I
okay.
assume they don't, so we should be more specific.
So I can make
Yeah.
it specific to this policy and just kind of that they would be provided a copy, that they would sign off acknowledging that they have read it and that they've received it.
Simple.
That
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
Yep. You've covered the other stuff they needed in the second paragraph of that section, so
Okay.
in terms of to do the job, so I think that's good.
And then the uniform and equipment, it looks like you guys just wanted me to take out the screened, and the updated version that Town Administrator Smith gave me that had already been crossed out. So it would just read that the Erving traffic control on the back of approved dark navy colored utility pants, shorts, and traffic control baseball cap. But I believe that there was some discussion as to who would provide that, and it sounds like, from talking with T.A. Smith, you guys would want us to purchase those shirts.
I don't recall that.
I think we discussed the screening, and that was just a nuance, but I think we're also discussing if we're dictating what you have to wear, then are we also providing it because it's very specific about what it has to say and what it is?
I can
Or
tell
is
you
it being
from personal
just meeting-
experience, I was on the TCO list doing traffic details for both Greenfield and Montague. I had to pay for them myself. If you want to be on there, you not only have to pay for the listserv for an annual fee, and you have to supply yourself with all your own equipment.
And they can go to Century.
Well, that was pardon me, but that's what I was going to say. I'm remembering back, I think we also said, or being very specific about where they have to go get exactly what. Not
Yeah.
necessarily that we
So
have to
the-
provide it, but we provide the what and the where.
Yes.
And you pick it. You can only get from this
It has
list.
to be approved list.
Yeah, that's,
So
I think, what we
Montague
ended up at.
dictated exactly what, parameters, list of equipment that's acceptable to buy. Greenfield did the same thing.
Right.
Montague dictated where you bought it. Greenfield didn't care as long as it had exactly what was on the list. So I think if you just, this type of shirt, this type of pant, and within these specs, have at it.
Yeah, so maybe just another sentence that, uniform equipment will be per authorized document from an authorized vendor or something like that, authorized list.
Do you have, Chief, do you have a general list of approved clothing that the officers wear on details? Because it's just the ANS2
Yeah,
shirt.
Yeah, and I mean, I know the fire chief went out and bought some of the polo shirts. I think if we just send them to Century and say that you have to get a detail, one of the detail shirts,
From Century.
and then just have the Erving traffic control.
No, you're not worried if it's, Blower or if it's,
no,
you don't care
no.
what brand.
511 pants as opposed to Blower pants, as long as
You
they're
don't
black
really care.
cargo
Yeah.
pants.
Yep. So just a
Okay.
simple list of, purchased from Century uniform with,
Century or Jerks.
or Jerks, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you can either put that in here or you can just say, must be from approved list from approved vendor.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
On file. Don't say where, but say that's something
That's
that
what I
you
was thinking.
maintain and that's what you're getting.
So
at.
they're so when they ask, we're going to tell them where they're going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
when they
can get-
ask you, go, you can ask for these things from these vendors and that's
Yeah.
what you have to wear.
Jerks carries it, Century carries it, have at it.
Right, right.
Okay.
But that leaves you the option to change them as needed and then it's
Yeah.
just whatever you're defining.
Yep.
Okay.
That's all I had in my notes. I don't know if there was something in addition.
Nope, you had already crossed out the one in 6, so that was it.
Yeah, we already covered that.
I had spoken with Select Board Member Bastarash just before the meeting about the seniority and the bid rights. There was a discussion about possible language in there that the TCP would be offered traffic control positions only after all regular and part-time employed police officers for the Erving Police Department have declined. We have a list at the station of what we go off of. I don't know if we should reference, if
So,
there's
yeah,
recommended language for that.
there was, I think, Chief, if I may, what we were talking about was there are other TCO programs in the area, and they're hearing about this one coming online, and they're interested in getting on it. And I was just wondering, is this language sufficient to allow for the chief to be able to create his own ranking list of triaging when do people get called? I think it is sufficient the way it's written. It allows him to at least satisfy the internal police and both full-time and part-time before it goes to the TCP. It doesn't preclude him from offering it to other local police departments or, inserting other TCOs after our TCPs. It doesn't, there's no mention of where it has to fall in. It's just that our TCPs will fall after our full-time and part-time employees.
And
I
what
think-
comes after that?
Right,
And
and
after
the
that is-
landscape can change of what's being offered, how many programs are out there. I'd hate to list certain programs and find out that 6 months from now, Montague nixes theirs and they don't do it anymore, or the sheriff's not doing them anymore. So you don't want to put those in there because you don't know. After reading it and speaking with the chief, I think the language is fine the way it is. It ensures that we get our full-time and our part-time first, and then
Then
after
other
that,
town.
it'll go to, other town, which is inclusive of our TCP.
And the last sentence there was surrounding and sheriffs. It is the last sentence in that section. If they're still unfilled. Does that kind of get to your,
Yeah, what it doesn't talk about is surrounding department. It doesn't talk about surrounding TCO, but
oh, I see what you mean.
So like the sheriff's department has
Yeah.
created a TCO and they've
Yeah, I
had
understand.
TCOs out here.
Right.
So I guess I just want to be clear that this TCO is for our staff.
Yes, yep.
That doesn't mean that we would not potentially have outside TCOs on the job, but they're not, it's no different than us hiring or asking Gil to fill a detail for us or Berniston to fill a detail for us. The fire department in,
Montague.
yeah, Montague, but it's
Turner's Falls.
Turner's Falls.
Yeah.
A few of them have reached out expressing an interest in it. And so if we can't fill it, we could call Turner's Fire and say, hey, we have open details. If you have staff
Sure,
that you would like to fill with it, you bill it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I
Gotcha.
guess I just want to throw that out there that other non-sworn police officers, sheriff's department, have expressed an interest in working here.
So would it make sense then for that last sentence to say something to the effect of if traffic control positions are still unfilled, they will then be offered to certified
Outside
personnel
agencies.
from surrounding agencies?
Sure.
And that
And leave it at
leaves
that, whether it's
open.
TCOs, whether
Yeah.
it's
Whether it's
sheriff's
law
deputies,
enforcement,
whether it's
whatever it
law
is.
enforcement, any of them.
As long as they're certified to direct traffic either through completion of training or through their sworn capacity.
Yep, okay.
And that way you have the discretion to do what works best.
Yep. Perfect.
That
Like
makes
that.
sense.
Keep it simple and keep it
Yep.
open.
Yep. Perfect.
Did you write down all of the amendment on the first one that we talked
And
about?
that's where the typo was. It was, should be departments, not department.
Yeah, there's one of its requests above, the paragraph before that one. If
I'll
the
wait till it's
TCP requests approved time off, I think that's supposed to be
Oh.
plural as well. If we're talking about S's. But I'll defer to the expert.
No,
That would not be me. For the
no, it should be, yes, in that.
In the paragraph
Section
before,
6,
yeah.
1, 3, fourth paragraph should read, if the TCP requests approved time off, and then the change,
request with an S.
Yes.
yes.
Oh, I think, did we miss that last time? Maybe I didn't bring that one up last time, but when you're done, I don't want to jump around too much here. In section 3, the last sentence, not authorized to work on any town of Irving.
Oh, we
It
did bring
shouldn't be
that up.
construction, it's just any town of Irving
Projects.
jobs,
Yep. It's true.
Assignments,
assignments, well,
So take out project and
it's
put,
not assignments, so we gotta be specific that it's a town,
yeah.
it's a town project.
town
or
of
it's a
Irving
town-
paid function.
I think project is sufficient.
Project
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
Project's
yeah,
okay.
project's fine. Just
So
drop
just take out
construction,
construction.
please.
Okay.
No, the one I was going to ask you is, do you have the language for the training one? I didn't write it all down. It's the last sentence where he added regarding this policy and receiving and.
Yes, I
Okay.
captured that too.
Just
Yep.
want to make sure you got it all.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else with,
Nope.
why don't, unless you guys want to do something different, I would say, why don't we get a clean copy for next meeting and we'll
That's
just do
fine.
one clean read and then approve it?
It's not going to hold you up at all, right? Because we already authorized
No.
you to use
Yeah,
the
you
couple
guys
that
already
were.
authorized, yep, yep.
To use the couple.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're working within the confines of the draft until
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So final review, July 8th.
next meeting, yep.
Yep.
Peace.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks,
for that
Am I
one.
staying here?
Yeah, let's,
I was
yeah,
gonna say
stay,
you-
might as well jump through the rest
Might
of
as
them
well.
while you're right up here. So, review and approval of the co-responder clinical professional support services agreement with clinical and support options.
Should be copies right next to the German.
Yeah, they're right here. If you guys need them, want them, questions. We got approved on the application for slightly less than, so Chief and I had worked together to adjust it slightly to cover some admin time, which we had discussed last year,
Yep.
wasn't included. If I followed what they came back with, it was pretty much what it was without the admin time.
It's what we asked for. It's more than what we had asked for in the original 3-year proposal.
Okay,
It's more than that third year, but it's less than what we had worked
we
on.
submitted, okay.
It's the exact same amount that we had for this year, FY '24.
okay.
195.3 and some change.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just, well, I say it's covering it, but it is year 3 as well, so we'll have to start talking about what's that look like.
Right.
Next, as we get into fiscal '25 and what's that gonna mean for '26? What are the programs? And I know you've actively been advocating as well as looking, trying to understand what's going to happen in the coming years to the funding and support. So,
Yeah, because I was told, I did question why we weren't granted. I'm very appreciative of the 195. I don't want to sound unappreciative. I said, but I'm just wondering why we were not approved for the full amount that I had asked. I mean, we were asking for an extra $4,000 or $5,000, and they said that it's becoming very competitive.
Yeah,
So
so definitely something to be
places
thinking
out
about as
east
we get
will
into
get
budget
it. The
season.
places out here will not.
Okay.
Any questions or concerns?
In terms of the competition, the only question I have is, in reapplying in future years, I'm not familiar with the application process, but is part of the application data-driven where you can justify the need for it with the volume of calls and the level of diversion or other great works or the impact that this has had?
Yeah, when we first did it, we provided all kinds of different statistics that we felt would benefit us from getting it. Now that we have it, we have to constantly put data into their database that they control. So I would be willing to bet that they're probably looking at the data and comparing it to other agencies and stuff. So I would be willing to bet it's very much data driven. And I mean, we just sat through, Jess Brooks and I just sat through a DMH meeting here in Franklin County. And don't quote me, but I think our numbers for this last quarter were 100-something calls, mental health calls. So it's not like we don't have them, and I would hope that the program would never go away altogether, but.
And that is the 6 towns that are part of our program, or is that
no,
Erving?
It actually grew. So there's Erving, Gill, Berniston, Leiden, Northfield, Warwick, Leverett, Wendell. Because Leverett absorbed Wendell, Berniston absorbed Leiden.
And so our agreement says Leverett and Berniston, but because they're
It's-
covering
it's-
it,
yeah,
covers
because
them
it's
as well.
their one police
Their
department.
one department, right? Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Interesting. And those numbers are all of the departments in our program?
Correct.
It's a large scale. It's a pretty large region that we're covering with the service, so. Do you-
There's a clear need for it, and I just hope that we can support the chief in providing whatever we can to maintain the competitive edge that we need to maintain the program and its current support level, if not more.
My fear is a lot of other departments are seeing it and be like, ooh, it works. Let's jump on board. But I appreciate
Well,
that.
we have established and
We do have an established.
shown we can and do operate a successful one, so.
Yep.
And we have a lot of region behind it, so.
Yep.
it's probably early, but do we know, is the application process going to be different, as it's not like year 3 of an existing grant in the coming year, or don't know
Yeah, so I
yet?
don't know. That, I will have that conversation here in the near future with DMH. I have begun those conversations with CSO. They are very interested in sitting down and doing another 3-year projected outlook of what it's gonna look like. The initial grant obviously was, several pages long, a lot of data that we provided them. To reapply was a simple 2-3 sheet check off boxes. So now that the 3 years are over, I don't know if they will require us to gather more data and prove that it was successful, prove that it's needed moving forward. I don't know yet, but CSO is very interested in maintaining it as well. I have had some conversations with, low-grade conversations with CSO, nothing official, but my hope would be is that if we weren't given the grant, that we would still be able to try to figure something out with CSO and surrounding communities.
Not that we necessarily have or want to take on, have the bandwidth for or want to take on more, but at the same time, might be worth, as we're in year 3, thinking about, are there other departments that are in the region that we've already kind of begun to expand to that are not part of a program right now in another, area, and may be interested in what would that look like? Because, again, there's a bandwidth question, and some admin piece to it, but also, does it continuing to expand that services make it more appealing from a grant process too? So probably a balance there, but be something to look at as we
Yep, for sure.
explore the renewal or the reapplication. No, not a renewal. So
For sure.
it's been very successful. Anything else on this one? Would one of you like to make a motion?
I am willing to make a motion to enter into an agreement between the town of Erving and Clinical and Support Options, Inc. to provide co-response clinical professional mental health services to the towns of Erving, Bernardston, Gill, Leverett, Northfield, and Warwick for a term of 1 year beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending on June 30th, 2025, and to authorize Jacob Smith, Select Board Chair, and Robert Holst, Chief of Police, to execute all necessary agreements.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
you.
Chief.
We'll sign these tonight, and then we'll get them, well,
want me to
yeah,
sign it now?
I can do it right now and get them to you. Hold on.
Should put a little sticky on there for you.
There's just a lot of signature pages amongst all the towns. While I'm doing that, let's see. FY 2025 reappointment of board and committee members.
I'm just going to go with them. You can chime in and do what you need to. I have no concerns with any of them. Thank you, Brian, for putting together a list of motions, and I'm just going to start reading them off. Make a motion to appoint Philip Wonka for a term of 1 year starting July 1, 2024, ending June 30th, 2025, as the Ambulance Advisory Representative.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to appoint David Brule for a term of 1 year starting July 1, 2024, ending June 30, 2025, as the Archaeological Preservation Officer.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to appoint Teresa Dodge and Richard Newton for a term of 3 years starting July 1, 2024, and ending June 30th, 2027, to the Board of Registrars.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to appoint Elizabeth Fliss and Jonathan Fliss for a term of 3 years starting July 1, 2024, ending June 30, 2027, to the Cultural Council.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to appoint Philip Wonka and Richard Newton for a term of 1 year starting July 1, 2024, ending June 30, 2025, to the E911 Planning Committee.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Make a motion to appoint Rebecca Miller for a term of 1 year starting July 1, 2024, ending June 30th, 2025 as election inspection teller.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I am going to recuse myself from the anticipated motion.
Make a motion to appoint David Brule and Kelly Loynd for a term of 1 year, starting July 1, 2024, ending June 30th, 2025, to the Golden Cane Committee.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll return to the meeting.
Make a motion to appoint Joseph Bucci for a term of 1 year, starting July 1, 2024, ending June 30th, 2025, to the Golden Cane Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And above
Actually-
that. Yeah, I was looking at that one.
Made a mistake with my cutting and pasting. That was supposed to be open space committee.
I was
apologize
wondering
on
why
that.
we had back-to-back Golden Canes, and I should have asked you.
Open space, I apologize. That should have been open space.
What?
The last one, Joseph
Bucci.
Bucci is not.
Oh,
And as I was
I
reading
am
it-
reading.
As I was
I was
reading
in
it,
the
I was like,
flow and
why
I just
did we
kept
have a
going.
third one separated out for the Golden
I
Cane?
thought they were different term lengths.
Yeah.
That was my fault.
Thank
I
you for
apologize.
catching it. All right, so,
Did you not say open space
no, I said Golden Cane.
both times? Okay. I heard open space, maybe because I was reading it, because I was reading the table up
The
above.
table says it, yes.
And I did not hear it. All right, so we're going to move to amend the last motion.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion to, can I rescind it?
We'll
or
rescind-
just-
you want to rescind it first?
I'll make a
yeah.
motion to rescind the appointment of Joseph Bucci for the term of 1 year, starting July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, to the Golden Cane Committee.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye. And I
Thank
will
you.
do it again with a motion to appoint Joseph Bucci for a term of 1 year, starting July 1, 2024, ending June 30th, 2025, to the Open Space Committee.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Thank
was
you.
going from the notes below and
Yep.
didn't catch it in time until after we said
Start
it.
going through the motions, right?
Yeah.
That was my fault.
Good
It's all
catch.
good.
So based on that, we still have vacancies, with 3 openings on the Cable Advisory Committee. We have a letter of interest to consider at a future meeting.
Yep.
We need to, and we can potentially do those tonight. We need to do the Franklin Regional Council of Governments, Select Board Member Representative, Franklin Regional Transportation Authority Select Board Rep. We have 1 opening in the Historical Commission. We have open meeting assignment to the Open Space Committee from the Select Board, the Historical Commission, and the Conservation Commission, 1 each. 3 openings in the Public Works Feasibility Committee, and 1 opening in the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Right.
So some of those are ours, ours.
3 of them.
3 of them. Anything anyone wants to volunteer for, do?
So Jim was gracious enough to help me out with the FERCog meeting, I think twice already since this past year. Just they fell on days that I was not available. I did attend their meeting last week. I have no problem staying on. And remind me, did we end up doing an alternate? Is that how we did it?
This past year,
This
we've
past
had
year we did it as an
You as
alternate.
the rep and Jim and I as both as alternates.
Yeah.
Yep,
And
that's how
I'm,
we did it.
and I'm fine with sticking with that if you're okay.
Yeah, I
with-
see no compelling reason to change it.
Okay. And then the FRTA?
Jim was, you were
I
FRTA.
can continue with
And
that.
I was the-
Okay.
Brian and I were both
You were the
backups.
alternates on that? Okay.
Yeah.
And we're good maintaining that?
Yeah.
And then open space, we haven't had an assigned member in a while because we weren't really reviewing it, have we? I don't think we've had one in
Committee
a
has
while.
not met regularly in probably 5 years,
Yeah,
so it's been
Okay.
a while. But we will be, as one of your agenda items are, we will be working intensely on the plan for the next 9 to 10 months. So this committee will have
I
to
have
meet
sat through
probably
that.
monthly.
And been on the open space committee
Yes.
before. It can be a lot,
Yes.
if anybody's interested.
I'm not sure I have the time to sign up for a lot right now or be effective at it at least. The EMS one is just starting to get
Yeah, you're gonna,
involved too, so
Yeah.
not to, don't know if either of you have an interest, or we can try, we can have alternates.
If it's bandwidth, I'll take a crack at it. If there's, again, does it make sense to have contingency plans, backups, alternates?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, if we all stay abreast on everything that's happening anyways, if you want to take the role on it, I'll happily be voted in as an alternate
Okay.
to sit in your stead if you can't make it.
All right, well, and what are we doing for terms on these? Do we usually do 1 year on the first two, right?
Those
Yeah.
are all 1 years, and open space, we've been appointing everybody for 1 year.
For 1 year for now, okay. All right, well, I'll make a motion to appoint Scott Bastrash as the select board representative to the Franklin Regional Council of Governments, and Brian Smith and Jim Lloyd as alternates
Second.
for 1 year with a term ending June 30, 2025.
Sure, I'll still second it.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to appoint Jim Lloyd as a select board member representative to the Franklin Regional Transportation Authority, and Brian Smith and Scott Bastrash as alternates, the term of 1 year ending June 30, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to appoint Jim Lloyd as the select board member on the Open Space Committee, and Scott Bastrash as alternate for a term of 1 year ending June 30, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen.
And I will advertise the other vacancies.
Thank you. All right, no minutes for tonight. Review and approval of the federal fiscal year 21 Community Development Block Grant Contract Extension Request.
Through December, correct?
Through December, yes.
Correct.
Current end date is on the 30th of this month. So we have 89,000, almost 80, I'm sorry,
83.
almost $84,000 remaining for program activity, and there's additional couple units that they're looking at potentially funding, so they're hoping to continue to use up those funds before we close it out. Any questions or concerns?
I don't have any concerns.
None here.
Make a motion that we grant an extension of the FY 2021 Community Development Block Grant contract through, is it December 31st?
Yes.
December 31st, 2024, and to authorize Chairman Jacob Smith to sign any and all documents needed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And there should be a copy right there for you.
There is.
Excellent.
Next item of business, review and approval of professional services scope of work for the open space and recreation plan update with the Franklin Regional Council of Governments.
Hopefully the memo made sense. You have about 12 months-ish for us to work on a revised plan for the open space, conduct all the public engagement procedures, and come up with a plan that the three of you approve to be sent into the state and then certified by the state before September, to keep us in good standing within the approved plan. Those plans, they're part of your master planning process, and having one that is in good standing, they expire every 7 years, is important for many grant considerations. And as the capital planning committee has been meeting with the rec department, there's been a lot of conversation about their intention to plan to apply for park funding for Veterans Memorial Field. So keeping this plan in good stead keeps that door even open. If the plan goes defunct, we may lose that opportunity. So we worked with FERCog in 2018 on the last update. It did take the 9 to 10 months of time to conduct the work and get it ready. I think we submitted it in June and had approval by September. It takes a few months to get the response from the state. So this scope of work is asking the planning department at FERCog to assist us once again. It's a very comprehensive proposal that they have. They propose a lot of engagement. The appropriation from the town is $25,000, and the current proposal includes accessing DLTA funding that has been set aside at FERCog for the town specifically. So the full project is $36,000, but 11 of that is coming from the DLTA funds, not from the town.
Any questions, concerns, thoughts?
No, it's definitely worth having for COG's assistance. It won't get done without it.
And when we say expiring in 25, it's fiscal 25? Are they tied to that, or are they tied to the last approval date or the calendar year?
It's last approval date, so it will expire in September.
September, okay.
Yep. So the goal would be, and I think this is in the timeline, that we would have everything completed by April, get ready to do that submission by May, June, and then you're still in that 2 to 3 month review period to hopefully have it approved by September.
And tell, just by Scott's comments, it's worth every penny of it, so I have no concerns, and if you're ready for a motion, I am willing to make it.
Yes, I'm assuming you're, Brian, just to clarify, you're referring to task 6 being, although they span it April, September, ideally means submitting sometime in the first half of that time period and hopefully having it back or giving any responses before September.
Right. My
Okay.
recollection.
It's not completing it by September, it's submitted and hopefully getting it back, task 6.
Correct.
Okay.
My recollection when we did this the last time, we submitted it, had to respond to several questions or comments.
Yep.
Based on those responses, we had an amended plan that they have certified for September.
Okay.
So that 2 month period does involve some back and forth
Front
between the
end
town and the state.
submission with the interim adjustments and then a.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
I am good.
And there's, well, now I have the question, there is no grace period beyond September if it's a work in progress?
There's a question mark that we've had because the timing of this, when the rec department may be ready to apply, and whether if you all decide to go forward with this, could you apply knowing that your plan, if not approved, your current plan is about to expire? And I've been led to believe that they would entertain that, but they would also want to know that the town is very close to having a submitted approved plan in place. So I think if we were to not go forward with the scope of work and not have a plan in place that's ready to be submitted soon after, I think it probably would not bode well for our application, assuming you had applied, knowing that both things are happening. If there's a small delay in there, or we're doing that interactive process back and forth with the state, I don't think that's going to harm the chances. And I give that with the caveat that it's a very competitive program. So just because we were successful the last time on the first application does not guarantee that we'll be successful the next time on the first application. But who knows?
So don't delay. Okay. I will make a motion to enter into an agreement between the Town of Erving and the Franklin Regional Council of Governments for professional services related to the preparation of a revised open space and recreation plan as outlined in the scope of work in the amount of $25,000, 0 cents, and to authorize Brian Smith, Town Administrator, to execute all necessary agreements.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Review and approval FY25 water use rates. Come on up, Pete. Thanks.
Hopefully the memo provided enough information to where we stand on the water department for this fiscal year. Our water use per gallons was a little bit lower than the past few years. And we still had a high cycle back in FY21 following a very low usage period in FY20. So all of those things were sort of leveled out in the estimates I gave you. But based on the estimated usage for FY25, we do believe that a rate increase is necessary. And I ran a suggestion of adding 5 cents to the rate for your consideration.
So FY24 was to date. Did I miss what date that was? Was that the date of the memo, or was
Yeah.
that through?
Through the June collections of last week.
I gotcha. So
So
it's pretty
payments-
much complete.
Yeah, payments could come in this week, but that's pretty close.
Okay.
And there will be no additional usage billed this period.
So the used amount is pretty much done.
That's
That is
done.
the actual use for the year. It won't be
That will not
changing.
change.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. The revenues could potentially, but
Correct.
not the gallons used.
Correct.
Okay.
And in the past, when I've given you this memo, it's been sometimes in late May. So there's a little bit more that could occur in the period, to your point. We're at the end of the fiscal year, so it's not going to change much.
Are there any unique conditions that caused a lower usage rate last year? And things that we might see returning back to higher rates?
I don't think there's not one specific cause I think that we can point to.
Right.
I think we know of several properties that went onto the market or have recently gone off the market. So there may have been a period where those properties were not consuming. I would anticipate once people move into those properties that they will start to use them again. To what level, you can never truly predict.
Right.
Can't think of any other significant changes in the system.
Trying to remember.
Except for the breaks in the winter.
Right, but that wouldn't
that's unaccounted.
reflect in these usage data.
Right, but just to confirm, there were no water restrictions imposed by the town?
Nope.
Or anything
No,
due to drought
we've never-
conditions or anything? No, I seem to recall last year was a pretty wet year.
I was gonna say that's my other thought is like summer on, which is this fiscal year. Did people not need to water so much?
Right.
In the last 12 months, right? Compared
make a
to
difference.
prior years because it was so wet last summer.
Correct. Yeah, in my time, the town's never instituted a water
Absolutely.
restriction. So
Never since I've been here.
The interest rate, is that affected by the changes the treasurer did to increase our rates?
I need to verify that into what bank account that those funds are being stored.
Okay,
If it's in the same institution, then the answer should be yes.
okay,
If it's at one of our other investment funds, then it may not be.
maybe.
So
Okay.
I need to double check that.
Okay. Not that it drives the decision, but just to see it fluctuate. You know, it'd be nice to see it fluctuate
Yeah,
up.
no, I was wondering the same thing.
Notice in 20 had a
Right.
stronger interest return, which is interesting with a lower balance, but
Can't recall why. Actually, do we have a?
I don't know. It's an odd one. You get
So we
COVID
didn't have a
half
higher
in, half
balance that
out.
year
So
either.
who knows if it was related to that or
No.
the economy shift in the prior year. I don't know. And so that the recommended increase generating the 108,936 and 75 cents estimate is against the 110 budget,
Yeah,
the 111 budget.
110, 965.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah, I'm reading that
Correct.
correctly. So
Yep.
it still feels a little. We could potentially be dipping into.
With the 108,936 plus what at least the $2,000 we assume will come from interest.
I guess so.
We get
So we're
We just get
we're
to the
assuming
110.
to. Okay,
Right.
I see. I see what you're saying. balance it with the interest income.
Correct.
So we aren't building up the retained earnings for future capital improvements or anything like that.
The 110 did include in the article about $2,000 going to retained earnings. So part of that is putting 2,000 towards the retained earnings.
Okay,
Yep.
got it.
Is 2,000 the amount that we want to program year after year? It may be on the lighter side, knowing that there may be capital improvements that we need to do in the future.
Correct, that's why I have a.
You what?
I have a recommendation that I'd
Please.
like the board to consider, instead of going to the 535, if we could just go right to 540. I'd like to try to make that retained earnings grow just because of the cost of, repairs, more testing that we have to do now with the PFAS. I mean, everything's going up. So I personally think it would be nice if we can get the retained earnings on a growing path increasingly.
You did dip into retained earnings last year through town meeting for the improvements at the water tank. So that's the decline or the decrease that you see from FY23 to FY24 in your retained balance.
Do you know what the rates are in the region?
We're right down there in the lower end. There's a lot of towns that are higher. And some towns, they're higher and they bill quarterly even. So,
For cash flow purposes.
right.
We will be working on a water rate study this year. It's part of our requirements to DEP,
Correct.
in addition to the capital planning work that we have to do for them. So we will be taking a bigger look at rates, not only our rate, but I'm sure that's going to involve a survey of surrounding communities. And the whole purpose, my understanding of that study from DEP is to ensure that the water system has thought about all of its capital needs going forward.
Okay.
And ensuring that the rates not only cover operations, but also ensure that there's enough funding to keep the capital improvements in place.
Right.
So, in trying to figure out what the impact is to the homeowner, do we know what the average household gallon use is?
It
How many
varies.
subscribers,
I,
roughly? Is it like 221 or something? Or is that like
two,
totally out of thin air? I don't know.
We have 270 plus accounts,
right,
but I believe some of them are not billed regularly
correct.
because they may be suppression systems or something else. So I think it's at 245 active accounts,
Right around there, yes.
but that's your business and your homes.
Okay, so average household, just using those numbers, and again, acknowledging it's not precise, but 58,000 gallons at an additional 10 cents per gallon per year.
$5
Yeah.
and something a year per billing cycle.
$5.80-ish.
Yeah, $6 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not a
proposed-
massive
I wanna-
change. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
10 cents doesn't seem like a lot, but then you calculate it out, and our residents, our taxpayers are now taking another bang, which I know they wouldn't be. So if we're talking $6 on an average household, I don't think
Yeah,
that's
the-
$5.40 is unreasonable.
The increase from 535 to 540 is in totality a total of $714.69 more for that extra 5 cents. So it's not,
But for an annual, it'd be 10 cents, right? If we're
no, but I'm saying
for
based
year
on
over year.
based on what
Based on his proposed?
on the proposal
Got
from
it.
535,
Got it.
the new proposal of 540, it's an additional ask of an increase of 714 above the 535. So it's about 1429 from 530 where we sit now annually.
To go up 10
Yeah.
cents?
Yeah.
Right. Which, just everybody uses the same amount, it's probably $6.
Yeah, it's not.
But
you know.
you're
unless you're watering your
Your
arborvitae.
business rate is probably 9 and your home might be
Sure.
4, you know, because it's all,
I think I shouldered all of that one year.
Some people are diligent about their.
Yeah, some people forget to
Plant
shut
maintenance.
off their drip
Soaking
irrigation.
soaker hose, and they run it for 2 weeks straight in the middle of a drought when they put arborvitae's in, and they shoulder the entire $1,400 worth of increase.
But they're doing nice. They're looking good.
Yeah, they're doing great. Yeah, they were expensive that year. You're welcome, Town of Erving.
Fortunately, River Road doesn't start growing grass after all the watering we do to it lately, but, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't have a concern with the 540. It's a step in the right direction of putting a little bit back into the retained earnings. It's not a huge ask of an increase.
And we'll have more data to set this in the following year, probably more based on some trends and facts and expectations in region and investments and all of that, right? Which would be nice to have to do. One of you want to make a motion or any
Sure.
other discussion?
I don't need any more discussion on it unless somebody else is looking for more. Make a motion to set the fiscal year 2025 water use rate at $5.40 per 1,000 gallons effective July 1, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, sir?
I have some information for you. Mission at the Tank is installed. It went online on the 20th.
Okay.
I was gone, but it's up and running. It's working great.
Okay.
So that is it for that. Next thing will be after July 1, the Route 2 station. So then we're done.
Nice. That's exciting.
Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Do we have anything else for you? I think that was it tonight, right?
I think that was it.
That was it? All right, thank you. Have a good night. Review of the fire department extrication equipment procurement. Come on up, chief.
So Brian and I worked very diligently on this, and then Friday, we got a bombshell dropped on us with a severely discounted rate on a set of tools.
It's not a bad bombshell. It's
It was
You
actually
say
very,
bombshell, I'm
it
like,
was very good, so Friday afternoon, I received a call while I was away, and my salesman said that Hearst had offered out a package deal for the E2 line, which is the line that is currently out there, and we had originally quoted the brand-new line, the E3 line. So the E2 line's been out for 10 years now. Hearst was, from what my sales guy told me, Hearst was actually, I think, contemplating discontinuing the E3, the E2 line, the discounted rated line. And then some of the bigger cities that actually run those, New York City and Boston, told them absolutely not were they going to discontinue that tool line because they've invested lots and lots of money in that system. So Hearst has decided to keep that tool line going. So I guess the easiest way to explain the quote, because we have two of them in front of us, is if on the original quote dated 5/9/2024, if you take those three lines 1, 2, and 3 off of there, that totals, it was right around 40,000, correct?
40,595.
And then plug in line 1 from the quote dated 6/21, which is a total of 30,525.
30,525, just
30,000.
for clarity.
I'm
There's a
sorry.
30 in there.
Yeah,
That's
30.
important. Versus 40, 41, 41?
40,595.
So basically to 30,525.
Correct.
Okay. Almost exactly 10K.
$10,070.
Wow.
So yeah, I was speaking with the chief before the meeting, trying to get all the numbers and make sure, see what he and Brian were working on. So the new total would be 37,974, if my math is
Because we
correct.
still need a few other
You
components.
still need the components on the first quote dated 5/9.
Right.
Sure, all the other associated pieces, whether
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
E2 or E3 or they fit the same.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
replacing the cutter, the spreader, and the ram.
Right.
with the other versions.
Line 1, 2, and 3 with the line
This
1
will,
of,
that will put us, the E2 line will put us exactly in line with what everybody else currently runs. Greenfield, Bernison, Orange, all of our surrounding neighbors are running that E2 line versus the E3 line. The batteries were the same, but the lines were not. So that brought up some questions from the manufacturers. If you decided to discontinue them, how long do they support them? They support them 7 to 10 years after they discontinue the line. So even if they were to discontinue them, they'd still be supported by Hearst, for at least 10 years after the fact. But my salesman did not think that Hearst had any indications that they were going to discontinue that line. They just, that E3 line is a brand new line out there for them with the 9 amp hour battery. And being frugal like we are, we looked at them and decided that we could, the only thing that we lose, we did a side-by-side comparison with them today, pulled up the spec sheets from all of them. The only thing we lose is 10 millimeter cut depth on the cutters. It goes from 255 on the E3 line to 244 millimeter cut depth on the E2 line. So other than that, the only difference were the tools were just a tad smaller. They weighed the same. All the other specs were identical all the way across the line. So I don't feel like we're losing any, we're not sacrificing any safety issues, any workability with the tools. I feel pretty confident that that E2 line kit with the cost savings of $10,000 roughly would benefit us immensely all the way across the boards.
And still 6 batteries and all the other
Correct.
stuff is all the same.
Yeah.
Now, what are they versus a 9 amp hour? Are they like an 8 or a 6 or something?
I think they're
or-
an 8.
Okay.
hearing you say that it is the same system that all the surrounding communities makes me a little more at ease knowing that if something should go down on a scene and malfunction, you've got others that are interchangeable.
Correct.
And if I
Each
recall,
toolkit comes with a charger, two batteries per tool, so we're looking at 6 batteries anyways, plus they have the additional plug that plugs in and you can plug it into a generator power, so you can run off a generator power also instead of relying on the battery, so.
direct cable from
Yeah.
the tool? Okay.
And I was going to say the same thing, thinking of first responder world having interchangeable parts for that
Yeah.
oh shoot moment.
Yep.
The batteries are interchangeable as well. The new E3 batteries fit the E2 tools? Is that what you said?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. So they might stop supporting E2 at some point, but as long as batteries is all you need, they're still running,
Right.
Correct.
indefinitely. And we can swap batteries between all departments and gear and,
Yep.
Just from the procurement standpoint, this is off the state contract, Public Safety 01, I believe. And
That's PSE 01.
Yep. And we looked at other vendors on the list. Firematic is the only authorized dealer for the Hearst brand, which is what the surrounding communities have. So if we wanted to explore a different option, we'd have to switch brands to something else. So that may speak to your interoperability for mutual aid if that is a focal point for this decision.
I see no value in that.
None.
I see some big negatives in that.
Yeah. And you've got 2 other members of the board saying there's
Yeah,
nothing,
yeah.
nothing there,
That's
no value
not, I
in
mean, this
changing.
is a great cost savings. There's no value in cost savings. It kills interoperability, that's for sure.
Yep. Nope.
For the area. Is that everybody who carries them, carries the portables or the battery apps at Hearst around here?
Yeah. Well, so Coleraine, I think, I'm not sure what brand they're carrying. They're not carrying Hearst, but they're the
Okay.
only ones
Okay.
that I know of that have a battery set that is not Hearst. I mean, even
Yeah,
our
they are the
hydraulic,
name, yeah. Our,
What's
our existing hydraulics Hearst too, right?
we have an Amicus and a Hearst set.
I said that's the name that I've always known
Yeah.
and heard. I mean, it's been the forefront of it. I'm not hearing you recommend we spend more and get the newer tool, so either.
No, I'm actually perfectly happy with the cost savings on them and going with that tool that's been tried and true out there for a number of years.
And you have 50,000 in your appropriation.
Yep. I won't speak for capital, but as a capital member, I'm sure we won't mind putting a little back either. for the next
Right.
thing.
We always try to give back if we can.
There's always more things, so. All right. Would one of you like to make a motion?
Yeah, what do you want for, so I went through, I don't want to cut it too short. We have up to 50,000?
Correct. Do you want to do it not to exceed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to make sure something, if something changes in the next day or two, I'd hate to give a dollar amount and find out it was off by 18 cents and we're
Right,
back
okay.
here trying to do it again.
I have a question before you do that. Actually,
Sure.
on the original quote, there's a minus or a dash 1956 at the bottom.
That's because all the ones that are scratched out equal the 1956.
Okay, thank
So-
you.
Yeah,
That's
We
what
had
I was
asked for
wondering.
a complete, a complete list of all things that we may need so we could
Yeah, go
pull
through,
it down from
pick
there.
and choose, yep.
The salesman was nice enough to get it right out to that $50,000 mark for us, but we cut out
Somehow rounded to exactly.
exactly.
we
yeah.
cut out a flashlight and some other stuff that the deputy chief and I talked about extensively and decided that we were not going to, we did not need.
Gotcha. Okay.
Chief, what, so I had thrown out there that it was 37,974. Are you comfortable if it were to not to exceed 40,000? Or do you think there's some,
The only other thing that we were looking at was a set of battery-operated glass cutters, but we haven't gotten a price on those yet. So it's a glass cutter head that fits onto our existing Milwaukee or Makita tools that we currently run. So it would be compatible with what we're currently running on the trucks anyways. It just snaps onto the head almost like an attachment, like a drill attachment. We're still waiting on a price on that. And then, so the cribbit kits, so line 13 and line 14 are the cribbit kits. Those are auto crib kits. You slip them underneath the truck, hit the lever, and they come back, they'll come up and auto crib it for us instead of having to jam wood under there. Those I would like to plus up. Order two sets of each one, the AC13 and the AC17.
Are those height differences, those kits?
What's that?
Are they differences in max?
Yeah, one's set up to fit trucks, SUVs, and the other one's set up to fit smaller cars and sports cars.
Got it.
so you're looking at adding another 1125 and 1380?
Correct.
There were 3 different freight manufacturer lines on there. You guys crossed out
Unfortunately, they're
one.
all coming from
They're just
different
different.
manufacturers.
It's like the stuff above is here, stuff above is here. Okay,
Correct.
gotcha. You got like 41 or 42? ready to do
Yeah,
it?
it's like 41.
Well, does it make sense doing not to exceed 42? That's this stuff, and then
I was going to
still
say,
have the
when you
money
get a
in the
quote on the
account
other one,
for
come
the-
back and.
Yeah.
do that separate.
Yeah, that's the number I was trying to get to, is like what allows you off of the known quotes,
Right.
get
Yeah,
all
I
of
think
that.
if that's what it adds up to, not to exceed 42, and we can place this order tomorrow for this one and come back and talk to you about the glass cutters.
Yeah, I mean, the 8's still in there, and we can, it's still extrication equipment, so
Yep.
Absolutely.
we'll come back to it for that. That makes sense. To me.
So not to exceed 42K then?
42, and that's Firematic Supply.
Correct.
Yep.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the purchase of the the fire department extrication equipment from Firematic Supply Company, 23 Birch Street, Milford, Mass. Not to exceed $42,000, and to authorize. Are you going to sign them, Chief?
Yep.
Chief Wonka to sign any and all agreements needed.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
If they want a purchase order, just let me know and we'll get it done tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yeah, whenever they get the quote for the other piece, the
Yeah,
glass
get the other
cutter,
thing, let
Okay.
us know.
because we've got capacity.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. I should have asked you, that's laminated glass you're talking about, right, for laminated?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because unfortunately, the manufacturers are starting to
That's
mandate.
more and more, all the
glass
windows,
and-
yeah, you're not breaking those with a glass breaker.
Nope.
Review of the highway department plow truck procurement. Go on up, sir.
Evening.
Evening, sir.
Evening.
So, annual town meeting, the voters approved us a new plow truck. So a few weeks ago, Brian and I sat down and did a procurement through the state contract, VEH 110 again. We've been very successful with that. Everything came back as what we were asking for and looking for. Only one quote came back through Markop Ford, same one it just did the last one. Under budget for total with the truck and the build, $84,780.
And this has what we changed from the last one after built in?
Yep.
I was thinking the same
I-
thing. I couldn't find it in there, but I was thinking the same
Yeah, I
thing.
knew we added some, was it lighting
It was
or
lighting, right?
cameras or
Yep,
both?
it was
Yeah,
the lighting
yeah,
and the,
okay.
and the sensors.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
It's on the
Dare
second
I,
page.
dare I say you say good luck and we have another truck and I was thinking of that one when I was reading this one? No.
Yeah, it's on the second page of the OSD quote of the upfit.
Okay. The backup alarms and that kind of stuff in there, right?
Yes.
The spot lamps, okay.
And what was the approved dollar amount?
100,000.
100, so we're saving 15 and
15,000.
change. Nice.
The lighting on this, like the amber lighting and the brakes and stuff, are those the ones that nowadays you see them, they'll do like a pulse flash before they go solid and all that? Is that kind of all the lighting up?
Yeah, so we've been setting ours up as amber clear.
Okay,
We just came back from Maine, and they're doing a lot of green. One green strobe on the back now as a safety warning, because it catches your eye. Montague actually started doing a few on their trucks also. They put one green clear on the back.
Connecticut does green on theirs too.
Yep.
Really?
yeah, Connecticut law enforcement runs amber,
do.
red, yellow, right?
Yep.
Which is
Yep.
interesting too. Just anything we can do these days, I mean, it just seems like it gets more and more dangerous out there for everybody.
Yeah.
So,
Is that something you'd recommend that we consider doing? Or?
Yeah, so with the price of this, it's a generic price on the safety warning lights, all the strobe stuff. What he would like to do is, once the truck gets there and the build starts, then we go down and then set up the actual light package. So he did warn me that the lights may change a little bit. They could go up, they could go down a little bit. So if we do a not to exceed on this one also, because there could be a little difference in the same amount of lights will be on it. It's just the brand and the color combinations could change.
Any anticipation on what that wiggle room would be?
But lights are not cheap. If we throw an extra couple grand on there,
I was thinking
think
too,
we would
I
be
was like
pretty safe.
87, you know.
Safety warning lights are not
90?
cheap.
Just to
I was gonna
make
say
sure
90.
90
just to
just to
give you
give the wiggle
some-
room? Yeah, I mean, still 10,000
I
under
mean,
budget.
it's generic light coverage, but
Yeah, that's
once you
fine.
get down to the details, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'd rather anything we can do and some of those that are much more eye-catching. I mean, I find like those, is there another one where they have a different color light in the center on the brakes or something and they're flashing it? I forget.
Some of them, when you first step on, there's a rapid flash to them.
That's
That's
what
what
I,
he's
that's what
talking
I first
about,
was
yeah.
asking you about. There's a rapid flash. Like they do that pulse flash and then solid just to kind of
Yeah,
catch your
I
eye.
don't know if these do that. That would be probably a Ford issue. Most of that is a Ford and not an upfit issue. So
It's a factory?
a factory one, yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Really?
It may, yes. It may be something that they could just go
You
into
just swap
a
out that.
program.
You swap out that.
No,
eye
I'm sure you
controller.
can.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
I would have thought
I might have done that
would
before.
be
No.
The like the Wayland programming,
That's what I was
Like-
thinking too. But
but
Well, it probably depends, because these, what I'm talking about are factory lighting. They're more your brake lighting and stuff. They're not
Right.
your additional safety lighting that's probably on the Wayland. I don't think your Wayland's running your brake lighting and
No.
your standard lighting, so that's probably a
No.
standard lighting programming or a custom from Ford in addition or separate from Wayland. Anyway, I think you get the point of what we're all throwing around up here, which
Yeah.
is anything that is out there that that is identified as like the next advisory lighting, solutions that make it more obvious and safer, especially in bad conditions. I think we're all for it.
yep.
Yeah, we've added a lot more safety lights on the last few trucks.
As long as they're not so bright and intense that I can't see anything, like when the state police go by at night. No. You can't see a thing afterwards. I'm just kidding. Hey, if it makes you slow down. I'm fine with 90. I mean, I kind
good
of
with
agree.
that.
Like, gives you some room, and we won't be closing it out until the truck's here. So, if something changes, let us know.
Perfect.
Any other questions about it? Concerns?
No.
Is this the exact same thing we'll be replacing? No.
No, this is replacing the F-350, the pickup.
Gotcha. That's a 550 that we're.
Yeah, that's 126.
Yeah, that was a little bit
I thought it
more.
was a little more.
I was gonna say,
Okay,
that's
yeah,
a little
that
low for a.
It seemed low. Yeah,
For a
now I know why.
550.
I was missing the 350 in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, got it. I'm good.
You want a motion?
Yes, please.
A motion to award Marcotte Ford sales of 1025 Main Street, Holyoke, Mass. with the purchase of the 2024 F-350 with all upfitting not to exceed $90,000 and to authorize Glenn McCrory to sign any and all agreements.
Before it gets a second, can I make a recommendation? That we don't know for sure if this is gonna be a 24, can we just say new? Because we're at
Friendly
that
amendment,
point
I'm
now
fine
where
with that.
24s may not be available.
And
we're
like
going
last
into a
time, we took a
25 season.
2023
Last
at a
time
discount, yeah.
that happened, yeah.
Yep.
So if we can just strike a
long as it's a
year.
24 or equivalent new. You want
Or-
new?
or just
new?
new.
Just new.
New? That's
One
fine.
new Ford F-350 plow
F-350.
truck?
I'm fine with that amendment. It hasn't been seconded yet, so whoever seconds it, know that's what you're seconding.
Okay.
I will second as amended.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll do the purchase order tomorrow morning.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Review of the Mass Trails Grant Award. So much discussion before when the application went in. And now we're here too. Not tonight, but now we have received the award, and so obviously we're in a different place without having a planner and everything else. So we also didn't fund a match fund in the capital project list this year. So we'll be looking for match funding if we wanted to move forward.
Correct.
I
So
just
you
pulled out
sent
a
a-
couple
yeah.
things, but you sent a more thorough memo. So if
Yeah, the
something you
memo
wanna call
came
out.
today, in addition to the response from FERCog, correct?
They got back to us this afternoon.
And that was, so Brian and I had talked about it before, saying that we don't have the staff capacity to honor the 96 hours. And, my recommendation was if we can outsource that and have the FERCog do that. The conversation we had was as long as Brian's lift on this was going to be nothing more than what it would have been before, which is to funnel the payments through, oversee that piece of it, quarterly, maybe a meeting or two throughout the length of the project. The rest would be FERCog in place of what was our town planner, because we never got a chance to hire one. What would that look like? And so they responded back today with an estimate of about 100 hours, not the 96 that we were quoted, and about $8,500 to accomplish all of what we had done, what would have been covered by Mariah, by our town planner. So just something to think about. I don't know what the goal was for this evening. I know one of the things we talked about was not for the match part, because that was not funded. But we do have the line item for the salary that's not being used.
Sure.
So if we're using, instead of paying a town planner to put in those hours, if we just pull that money out of that line item and use it to pay the FERCog to put in those hours, to me, it's a wash. And it won't disrupt any of the other budgets. The other piece would be, I think it's 4,500, 4,800, something in that ballpark. I forget what the match was.
4,500.
4,500.
Towards the engineering side.
Yep.
And we'd have to figure out that piece if we wanted to go forward with it. And again, I think we have,
There's consulting in the planning budget.
so there is a line item in there that can be utilized for that as well.
you asked, my goal was to let you all know, since it's been announced officially, that we got the award, and to make you aware of it. I didn't know if we'd have a number, because we didn't have it yet, in time
Yeah, it
for a
wasn't
meeting.
until this
So,
afternoon, so.
I had anticipated carrying it, and our next meeting will likely be joint, because we have a few other topics as well, and figured we could review it then and discuss
Sounds
with
good.
the whole financial team on,
July
here's
8th.
here's ways to proceed potentially, and what those costs would be, and how we'd fund them, and figure out if we want to accept it or not.
Okay. Timeline to act on it, on the acceptance?
So now that it's being discussed publicly, the state's released everything. I do have the grant documents, so I whenever you're ready, if you wanted to, we can process that work. Once they countersign, then we can actually begin our work if you were to accept. So that probably would be done in the month of July. Our project proposal suggested the timeline of November through April.
Right.
So we have plenty of time before November. At this table, the project must be closed out by June 30. So that was the purpose of having it done in April, so final reports could be submitted and all final bills could be paid, and then the reimbursement, it is a reimbursement grant,
Yeah.
so that reimbursement can be sought from DCR.
Okay.
So we have plenty
When
of
do
time
we
for
have
you
to
to.
accept by?
That's-
Is that what you were getting
There's
at?
no-
That's
There's
what I was
no-
getting
we just
at,
have to be
and
done by
we have to be
June-
done by
They
June
must be done
30th.
by June
Okay,
30th.
okay.
Yep. So if
Gotcha.
you guys need,
So the delaying it to July.
To discuss a little
End
bit
of
and-
July, if we need a second meeting, it's not gonna,
Sure.
no,
as long as we're in a spot, if we decide to go forward, that we're in a spot where we can get
Still have
all
enough.
preliminary work ready to go and start before,
Right.
say, November. So
Right.
we're on a good timeline.
right, exactly.
We've got the summer to figure it out.
So, DOT showed some interest, because this may meet some of their needs around
Correct.
complete street type out, right, if I recall, for the
Yeah.
Route 2 work.
So the reconstruction project for Farley, any reconstruction project that MassDOT undergoes, just like we have to go through complete streets, they have to do it. And there's, between the ledge and the river and all of the constraints in that section of Route 2, there really is no way to fully provide an alternative for bike and ped.
Multimodal, yeah.
Right, so this could be an attractive alternative, but that's the purpose of the feasibility study, to see, is this even a viable option? If it is, it's something that MassDOT, maybe our other stakeholders could help work on a solution, because a lot of this involves DCR, Mass Wildlife, so there's other state players that would have to be involved.
So, can we reach out to the appropriate contact who's working on that project and has interest, and see if they're interested in providing any of the support on the match side?
I can ask, the only thing I would say, and I don't know this to be true, but typically when state grants are awarded, the match cannot come from another state source.
Okay. It's a fair
So-
point.
So that may not,
Well, that doesn't mean they can't, well, I don't know. I was gonna say,
It
it doesn't mean they can't
ask the
offer staff
question.
time. They've got planning departments, right?
doesn't mean I can't ask the question.
Why don't we ask the question? It can't hurt to ask, right? I understand that they would potentially or hopefully be a very interested stakeholder and funder in execution
If the feasibility.
if the feasibility
yeah.
was there, right?
If it shows that it's worth a worthwhile adventure, then
And there may be some other stakeholders, as you saw for COG's response.
Yeah.
It's a project that's been on sort of the radar for over a decade, so there's some interest from the regional planning agency to be involved in a project like this. There may be other stakeholders centered around the Millers River and this area that may also want to play a role, so there may be other ways to also bring that forward. So maybe the
Did
next
you
2 weeks
send
give
us
an
their
opportunity.
response today? Yeah, okay, I didn't
Yeah,
see
it
it
just
yet.
came.
All
Yeah, it was
right,
like
yep,
just
that's
this
fine.
afternoon.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so we have that too, all right. Yeah, I didn't
That's
have
the
a
one
chance
I
to
was
read
referring
that.
to with
You were
100
referring to
hours
it, and I didn't know if you just saw it, and I hadn't
No.
caught up on email today, so I see
I
it
didn't
now.
expect a response this week, so when it came in, I just wanted to get it off to you, but I didn't even expect you to read it by now, so.
Okay. Well, at least we have it now, and we
Yep,
can
we can review
get
it
it
for
out
next.
for everybody for the
next
next meeting, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll likely have and plan to discuss the Mass Works and the IP mill and tie-in bonds feedback and such with next meeting, so
Right.
we'll have capital and finance here to do that anyway, so figured
Okay.
we can cover all of it while they're here.
Yeah, I should have an update from Time Bond later this week.
Yep.
So,
Good. Any other questions or things to follow up on before next meeting on that one?
Not at the moment.
Could you ask Donna to get back to us on that official response on conflict?
Yep.
and planning work. That's outstanding, just because that guidance in general, and more general, maybe not specific to that task that we had discussed prior.
You got it.
So we have it on record and we know what we can do.
I will follow up tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Review and approval of the MBI broadband infrastructure gap network grant application support letter for Comcast.
How many times you can say broadband in the same
I'm
time?
just going to say MBI BI.
Yeah.
Isn't that the same part of the B and the I?
Right?
Oh, okay. Have to get a chuckle out of that stuff sometimes. Whoa.
So Comcast has reached out to you to ask for your support in their application. There's federal and state funds becoming available to finish that last mile build out that people have been talking about for decades at this point. Excuse me. And so Massachusetts has made a grant program available. This is the second round, I believe. And so Erving is a community that is eligible to receive these funds. And so as our primary utility in this space, they have put together an application, or they're planning to put in an application in the next 2 weeks. So they've asked for you all to consider a letter of support. My understanding, I don't know if this is definitive, but my understanding is that letters of support from the municipality are important to MBI about whether or not they choose to fund. I did ask Comcast, I know this came up during the franchise negotiation meetings, if they could tell us how many properties were remaining to be fully serviced. I think at the time we were at 94% coverage. And when I asked the question this time, that they are currently estimating this would connect 18 remaining properties, or at least provide access to 18 remaining properties.
Do we have any idea, like regionally where they are, or roads, or any of that kind of information?
That I
or
don't
no?
know.
Where underserved last miles are?
Right. That I don't know.
Got it.
But it, in theory, would get Erving to 100% access.
I was going to say, is that 18 remaining? That is all 18 remaining.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yep.
So if we support this, provide a letter of support and they are awarded, do we get some, or is there some file report at the end that notes that they've sufficiently provided access to all properties and existing at that time? And
I think that's a reasonable
kind of
request.
as a, yeah, I mean, not to say they wouldn't, but what does accessible mean? And if no one's interested, hypothetically, of the 18 people like, I don't care, I don't want it, do they not roll any cable, or is it at the pole? It's just a matter of they didn't hook up.
It was my
and all of
understanding
those
that they were
things.
going to do that.
It's supposed to be at the pole,
It'd
right?
be at the street. If they don't want it connected to their home, this isn't going to be forcing people to connect. But
Okay.
it would be present for access in the future.
Future owners,
Right.
change
But
of own. Yeah.
getting a report that that's been done, I think, is a reasonable request.
Now, if they bring that last mile, that unserved households, and I have no idea, I'm just asking hypothetically, those households have long access, are they paying connect fees as well to get connected after? Or is that all part of the funding?
I will double
So
check on
like
that
if,
piece.
they have a 300-mile driveway, is that infrastructure included because they're getting that last mile access to all those homes? Or
Or is it only to
is
the
that
pole?
going to be their install costs to get it from the pole, which it's better than 17 poles down the road or whatever, but
Yeah.
we went through that when we wanted it at Public Works Boulevard, and we had,
Right.
tens of thousands of dollars of getting it to the nearest pole,
Mm-hmm.
and then actually bringing it to the building was another cost, right? So
Absolutely. Let me ask them that question for you.
I'm just curious what kind of support that gives them. I personally don't believe that not bringing it to the nearest pole at the very least isn't helpful. I think we
Right.
should, but it'd be nice to know how helpful is it if there's interested connectees. Questions, concerns, thoughts, agreed, don't agree?
No,
support,
I
don't
agree, and I
support?
think if we ask the question early enough, it's always easier to do it while they're already there mobilized and installing that last mile anyways.
Yeah,
If there's a way to work with homeowners, if it's not already part of the program, can it be in some way, shape, or form?
And just to, I know I put it in the letter, but according to Comcast and the request, there's no Erving funding that needs to go towards this project. So this is federal and state money. Comcast is also going to be putting in their own money towards this. This is a request for a letter of support, but not a request for funding from Erving.
Okay.
I don't have any
I think
concern with
it's-
signing
I
it.
think it's reasonable to get clarification on the chair's questions. I'm not opposed to supporting this.
Okay. Are you gentlemen good supporting it regardless of the response? So we'll go forward with it now and
Yeah,
also ask the
I am.
question?
I think, we can push back and get the responses and have that discussion with them. But like you said, even if it's just to the poll, I'm still in favor of having that done.
Agreed.
Okay.
You need a motion to sign it or just signatures?
We should do a motion where we're supporting it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Make a motion to issue a letter of support to the Massachusetts Broadband Institute Attention Broadband Infrastructure Gap Networks Grant Program on behalf of their last mile connections.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
I will get that ready for your signature.
Yep.
They need a better acronym.
MBIBIGN
Something, yeah.
GP?
You can tell an IT person did that.
Yes.
What?
I couldn't see Scott. I wasn't sure if he was done with his motion.
Yeah, it was a long one.
And then discussion regarding FY25 trash stickers. So, trash stickers free, how many are free, how much they cost, et cetera, et cetera. We've talked about it for the last couple of years and adjusted as necessary or, after some discussion slightly the last year, I think. I know during budget season, it was one of the topics on revenue generation and budget offsetting and things like that. Because it's time to set them. New ones will be coming out here shortly. I wanted to bring it up and discuss it. I'm not sure that we do or don't want to make a change this fiscal year, but it was something that, we did discuss. And while we balanced the budget in a variety of creative ways, we also know that that didn't necessarily mean that we're really at sustainable where we wanted to be, where we have been or would like to be.
My
And I don't-
Oh, go ahead. I thought you were done.
I kind of was. I don't recall the details of that discussion. I don't have my notes with me on how, if we ever got to that, self-funded, how that works. Because it's not an enterprise fund and it's receipts that are offset expenses. And I just don't remember the structures that we would be working toward if we're looking to eventually maybe offset the actual collection costs and disposal
You would
costs.
either treat it as a general fund receipt
Okay.
and continue to appropriate the expenses that you anticipate for the year. So budget like you normally would, just knowing that that's a local receipt that would come in as part of your revenue stream. Think of it sort of like the
So we
shared
would-
health service. You budget the full amount up front, you know what the assessment's going to be back to the participating towns, right?
But we would account for the revenues and the budgeting, balancing, processing the local receipts.
Correct.
So we're calling it out to spend it, but we're also calling out the cash
The
inflow.
cash inflow.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
So it's
one way
not
to
just
approach
free
it.
cash, it's anticipated offset.
Correct.
Okay.
As we learned with the health service, if you did it a mid-year process as opposed to waiting for FY26, you would probably have to do like well, actually, no, we've already budgeted up front. So never mind. I take
Yeah,
that back.
yeah.
So you don't have to do a mid-year adjustment. Anyhow, another alternative would be to consider potentially setting up a revolving fund. If you did that and it was supported by the voters, you could treat it a little bit closer to a cost center. The issue is going to be if it's not fully, you don't know how many stickers somebody's going to buy in a given year. So there's a certain estimation. If that did not cover all your costs, some of these are also market-driven costs. So if those things,
You get a revolving fund, but you'd probably still want to budget some contingent money
You would
to
need
cover
something to-
gaps or
Right.
timing or any of that, right?
it's not perfect science,
Gotcha.
especially like around the recyclables market. costs have been coming down, your costs have been coming down, but that could go back in the other direction, so.
Right. I got you. And right now we're at 156 free? 3 bags a week
Yes.
effectively?
How many stickers are handed out?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And-
So effectively
Yep.
like 3 bags
A week.
a week, 3 stickers a week per household. I shouldn't say bag.
And I have
3
some
stickers.
residents who are just coming in now to get their stickers for FY24. Like some people have been able to go off of what they
For 2
received the
years.
year before.
Yeah. And I still,
Whereas some have come in, they'll come in July to get the full next year. So for some families, the 3 bags per week has been generally what they needed. And then I've got several households that have not needed them all year long because they've had enough.
And I'm assuming we haven't had much in receipts, a little bit, but probably not hardly any
Dollars.
dollars.
Yeah.
yeah,
What did we have the rate at? 50 cents?
I believe it
Believe
was.
so.
Yeah.
So it's very,
Per sticker.
$2 a sheet, I think. So yeah. So yeah, it's been very.
My only suggestion was going to be if we're going to entertain a conversation of charging a rate, that should be part of the conversation during the budget setting session, not now after the fact.
Okay. We set water rates now after the fact, after we set a budget.
Yeah,
And approved
no,
it. So
I know.
Not
that's-
right or wrong.
But that's
just,
that's been the standard. That's
right. Or the rate just stayed the same for lots
for
of years.
yeah.
Understood. I don't have any
But
problem
yeah.
with it. Yeah.
Just because
wanted
we
to
brought
come
it
back
up
to
last
it.
year during budget season, then it went dormant. I would hate
Yeah.
to just randomly say, oh, and by the way, all of the households that use the full 156 stickers, it's now going to cost you X amount per year because we just voted in last night. I'd like to at least have a little dialogue with what that looks like
Understood.
and the purpose and how much should we actually be adding and how much are we trying to generate, the purpose of the generation. A little more.
I think we probably need to. One challenge is we give out so many and people don't necessarily take them every year or need them even, right? We don't necessarily have a good sense, I don't think, of how many stickers would be purchased if it was all pay.
Correct.
And I'm not saying
Right.
it should be, but if it was, what would that look like? How many would that really be? Are we going to sell 152 times 600 or
not.
Are we going to sell 52 times 600 on average, or what is that? And
Yeah, I mean, if you're saying
giving away
households
so
that are
many,
still
I
using
think that's-
FY20, three
threes,
stickers, and just now getting FY24s, 2 weeks before the end of the fiscal year, what
Well,
do we
that
actually
tells me
generate?
they've got 3 times more than they,
Right. Yeah.
3 times what they need.
Yeah.
And we reduced it the first year. We reduced it last year from the year before, I think, in quantity.
No, it's always been
No?
156.
You said at 156, we said we'd revisit, but we have not touched that.
Okay,
It's been the
gotcha.
same. And I know you spent a lot of time that year that you implemented it, trying to settle on the number of stickers.
Sure.
So it was your best estimation based on what we had for tons. But back then you had anywhere from 9 to 11 tons per week going out. And
Yeah, and
now
that
we've
really brought
been
that down.
between 6 and 7.5.
Which is what we anticipated it would be.
That's exactly it. So we're back to where we need to be.
There's no data or any easy way for Casella to give us any data on what that bag count is or anything or sticker count or
It's just
anything. Not
weight.
really.
No, it's just
They're
weight.
eyeballing that they're all stickered and that's
Yeah.
about it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wait.
Right.
Which I can provide a graph of we were doing that pretty regularly for a while to send it out. It's probably been 10 plus months since the last one I put out, so I can put out another one that shows what your tonnage has been month to month and your recycling, just to help the conversation when you're ready to have it. But it doesn't give you that sticker count.
Yeah, part of it for me too is, I think we saw it happen with free stickers, but the idea that we reduce what's free stickers also may reduce our footprint of what we're pushing out, and that's both haul costs as well as, disposal costs and, environmentally sound too, just to reduce it. So not to drive up the cost for people, but to be more conscious of what you're throwing out and whether you have to. Not knowing how many, and I think we probably can get an estimate on how many stickers we have because we know what we printed for free and then to purchase. So we can get an idea on how many we've actually issued
Right.
versus how many were available for free stickers.
Right.
I'd be curious what that data is, not tomorrow, but,
Yep.
you know, whenever.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if we
I
went to
was-
104, if we wouldn't, you know,
So I was thinking
instead-
that as well, but also, to Brian's point, somebody may come and grab their stickers even though they have 100 left. Because
Just
they're
because
told,
entitled to
they're
them.
told they're available, they want to get them,
they go
and
get
whether
'em,
they
right.
use them or not,
Right.
you know, oh, I got to get them just in case I have this huge party and I've got to put out 82 bags of trash tomorrow.
Sure.
I want to have those stickers available to me
Right.
because they're available and they're at the town hall. So I was thinking one step further, of trying to figure out a bag count. And I don't want to incur cost to do it, but is there a way to reach out to the residents, you know, as they get them and just ask, you know, like,
Right.
how many do you have left? Are you
Right.
using them all, or are you just picking them up? We're just trying to gain data. We're not, you know,
Yeah.
not
No,
holding
happy to have that.
anybody.
I bet
for
if we made it 104 for next year, anybody who hasn't picked up the stickers yet would come get them tomorrow.
it. Yeah, I think you're right.
And it'd still take us a couple of years to figure out who actually needed anything more than that, if
Right.
even, till they use them up. I mean, I have this plenty left too, so I mean, I can, you know, as just one data point, but
Well, I also remember when you all were having those conversations, there was some confusion. Trash is very personal to people. And I think some people were assuming that you were all talking about the smaller kitchen bags, those 13-gallon bags, when actually these are meant for the 30 gallon,
Yes.
right? So you can put 2 or 3 bags, depending on what you're throwing away, in that larger bag. So I think some people have adjusted to that higher amount as well. And
you know,
so
2 bag per sticker if it's your kitchen kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think some people maybe now realize that those conversations, when they applied it to their actual situation, actually allowed for what they were doing and then some.
Yeah.
So there's plenty
Start
of
reducing
capacity.
the count and start charging. We'll create a black market for everybody's excess stickers too.
That's exactly what will happen.
Yes.
Do you got stickers?
25
Black
cents a
market
sticker.
stickers, counterfeit stickers.
Right?
Hey.
They're all serial numbered? No. They are, but
Yeah.
Oh,
anyhow.
goodness. Anyhow, yeah. So I just wanted to bring it up. I'm
Yeah.
not, you know, part of me thinks we could probably go to 104 and see how it went. I really do think I wonder, I don't know that we'd actually generate any money out of that anyway. I don't think that we have as much usage as we thought. But I'm not saying we have to, so I'm also okay kind of incorporating it in a more planned
Yeah.
process next year, even if we don't assume receipts and we don't assume revenue, but we just say we're going to minimize the number and see what that results in.
yeah. Okay. How about I start pulling together what you've done over the last year in terms of recycling, your disposal, bring those costs back to you. We'll have those costs in the next 3 weeks. We'll know everything for FY24. Your anything goes was lower than we anticipated. I think the final charge was 21,000. So in some ways we're doing really good on solid waste right now.
And we did that. Okay.
I was going to say, I think the only thing we did different from year 1 to year 2 was we did not give them all out at one time year 1. We gave them the 104 and then had them come
Come
back
and get, yes.
for another 50.
Was that year 2 or year 1?
That was the very first
That
year.
was year 1.
Did we send them out though?
We mailed them to every single household.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that turned into a nightmare.
I
Correct.
bet. We said
Because
you have to pick them up.
Then
second year.
people said they didn't get them,
Right.
and then we don't control
so
the mail.
year 2 it was come get all 156 and just be
Yes.
done with it. Come to
Yep.
the town hall and
Yep.
do it.
Pick
But
up your
going back to sort of a hybrid
Yes.
of those two, if you were to say, come get 104, and even if we weren't charging,
Yep.
if you run out of those, come back. There's another 52 available to you. You just gotta come pick them up. We just want to better hone in on what's actually being
Yeah.
used as opposed
Yeah,
to.
but I know where you're going, so I'm going to make sure I keep stockpiling before you raise the rate. No, I hear you though.
Yeah.
I do. I think there's a lot of ways we could approach it.
Yeah.
I think the only other. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, we're tracking the households that are getting their initial 104, and then, so we know.
Yep.
Joe resident comes in and says, I need my 104, and a month later goes, I need my 104.
Oh, yeah, no, there's
that's all
We've got
tracked,
that,
yeah.
Yep. And this last fiscal, the current fiscal year, FY24, we were.
Just well,
It was an envelope of your 156 for you, and you got signed off on the list when you picked it up, and that's it.
yeah,
You want more, you pay.
Yep.
which was easier.
Yep.
Yes.
It's been easier to administer.
And less expensive. It's trying
Yes.
to ship them. The only other cost was we did the clean sweep here. Partnered with them after
Yep.
the other site was closed or discontinued. And I know we discussed, I think we discussed trying to keep it cost neutral. There was the overtime cost for staff. It was minimal, and I thought it was a very successful event. I mean, it was a lot of work for the team that was here, and it worked that overtime. So
They did a great
thank you
job.
to them, but I think it was, they stay an extra hour. I think it was busy.
I think it was
Very
probably an
busy.
extra 2 hours. There was so much material that they had to bring another dumpster from another site to pick up the remaining material. So
Is this the busiest site they've ever had, or pretty close? It was pretty
close. I think we were in competition with their other busiest site, and this was the first year here. So we did have to stick around for a few more hours, and the staff were incredible. They were willing to. I mean, it was a Saturday. They were willing to give up a little more time with their families to stay and take care of that. But it was very efficient. The site was clean afterwards. We had a very busy day here. I think 2 days later at the senior center. So we had to make sure that everything outside was ready for that to happen, and it all worked. So,
Yeah.
so no, we were very appreciative.
Yeah. So we ended up just incorporating that into our solid waste cost and not
It was minimal
not
enough to
billing. Yeah, I mean,
just-
it was not even
okay.
$1,000. It was a few hundreds. And
Yeah.
Yep,
for the value I think it brings to the area and even to our residents, it's worth it. So
yep.
we discussed just our contribution to it, right?
Yep.
I was looking forward to participating, and then I had an unexpected conflict and couldn't get down here, so.
I made
See you
my
next
I
year.
made my
It'll be
loop
in
through the
October.
line.
What's that?
It will be here again in October.
Yeah, it's twice a year.
It's twice a year.
Yeah.
So it'll be here
I'm
in
sure I
October.
can muster up some stuff.
Oh yeah, we made a short loop through and
Yeah.
probably do it again.
Yep.
But yeah, well at least we have a better idea what to plan for too, though, because it's pretty successful. So
Right.
I don't think we had any idea to expect that much
No.
turnout. So all right, so we'll leave as is what I heard for fiscal 25 at this point. We'll adjust if needed later in the year or plan for fiscal 26.
Yeah.
Data, I think it'd be great to review. August, September.
Okay.
As we're kind of getting into, but just there's nothing that we need to rush into
You got
getting. I know you'll be wrapping up books and everything, so that's fine whenever we have it, but there's no need to prioritize it.
Okay.
Okay. I believe I didn't skip anything. Last but not least, we have resignation from the Board of Health. Jane Nabala has resigned. We thank him for his time on the Board of Health and wish him well with his endeavors, and is welcome to join that or other boards as we have openings in the future. But that does leave us a vacancy there to go on our vacancy list.
Yes. So we have 3 elected official vacancies. I have a school committee member, a Board of Health member, and a Recreation Commission member. So we will begin advertising for all 3 vacancies.
Was there a rec write-in, or did they not accept? Did they
Correct.
decline? Okay.
Correct.
So it's one opening?
Correct.
Okay.
So we will we'll begin the advertising process for July,
Okay.
probably with a deadline in August to submit letters of interest to the 3 of you and the remaining members of those boards and commissions, and hopefully there's a registered voter who is interested in those opportunities.
Sounds great. And those terms are for the balance of the fiscal year.
They would be until the next election, which would be May for office,
The
July
normal.
1.
Yep.
Yep.
Gotcha. And then at that point, on the ballot for the balance of the term or a new term.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right, anything else anybody has? Topics for next meeting? We talked a little bit, we'll have IP, we'll talk, carried the grant, carried policy. Would anticipate we'll have a cadet job description to review
Yep.
for that meeting. That's about it on the horizon at the moment that comes to mind, but there's probably more. We probably need to figure out some wastewater. We may have an executive session topic or two, so
Okay.
we'll have a different variety of business, but maybe not a longer one. We'll see. Anything comes up, let us know.
Will do.
Otherwise, we are on plan to meet on the 8th. Next.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. If there's nothing else, we'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:21 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Brian, council never responded
regarding
ask you